Welcome to Jump Shots from the Goal Line. I'm your host, Jonathan Dugan, joined as always by my wonderful co-host, Mr. John Henningsen. Henny, you and I were just talking. It feels like it's been a freaking year since we last talked, man. How have things been?
Life's been good in the States, been holding it down, just kind of, keeping the program going. But yeah, you were missed, man. I think you have probably a lot more to talk about, or at least some probably more exciting things to talk about than anything I have to offer. So maybe open up with your trip to London or England, I guess. I guess you were in London. I know you were, but I don't know whereabouts you were, and maybe you could speak to that. I think your story is probably a bit more interesting.
Yeah, dude. England, because I did go to Manchester, which, by the way, Manchester is just a dump of a town. So anybody from Manchester listening to the show, my apologies, but your city sucks. But dude, the trip was good. It didn't start out good. Me and my other buddy flew out of Tucson, and immediately our flight was delayed by like 30 minutes, which is normal. Nothing to really freak out about. We had like I think a 2-hour layover in Dallas. So then I get on the plane, and this random dude comes up to me and he says, "Hey, you look like you belong in first class." I was like, "Why do you say that?" And he said, "Because I want your seat." So he switched me for first class. So that should have been my first, like, I don't know, red light that, like, okay, something really good is happening, so something bad has to follow, because that's just science, right? So then we're on the plane. I'm sitting in first class thinking life is grand. Then we get 3 back-to-back 45-minute delays on the tarmac. We get to Dallas. There's just crazy storms in Dallas because, I'm right there on the train with you now that Dallas is just a trash city. Just
Welcome
so,
home. Yeah.
yeah, I'm happy to join the club now. Apparently, they're just super open to receiving giant thunderstorms. I would have never known, but now I do know that. But it delayed my flight so bad that I missed my connecting flight from Dallas to London. Me and my buddy ended up having to sleep on the floor, not together, but on the floor in the Dallas airport overnight, which probably one of the grossest things I've ever had to do, sleeping on an airport floor. I'm just happy I don't have MRSA. I'm happy I didn't catch COVID. All the litany of things that could be on that floor and probably were on that floor did not penetrate my sweater that I was wearing. We then, instead of being a direct flight from DFW to London, it has now become a DFW to Boston to London. Boston Airport, just nothing to report back there. Nothing really crazy. Yeah, just your typical run-of-the-mill airport. Then that flight gets delayed because people didn't want to move out of the loading zone, like where they group 1, group 2, whatever. People didn't want to move. So they delayed the flight for like 45 minutes because people suck. But then we did get to London eventually. I lost out on an entire day of my trip because of time zones, which, again, time zones are weird, man. You and I were saying we didn't really talk much on my trip, and it's strictly because when it was 5 o'clock, like after work here, it was 2 o'clock in the morning in London. So I was up for sure, but might have had a few adult beverages or such that would inebriate me from talking to you coherently. I know you're surprised I don't have an English accent coming back, but sorry about that.
I mean, it was a
Sorry
full
about
week,
that.
man.
It was,
Yeah.
dude. Well,
Yeah.
not a full week because of the delay, but still goes without saying. London's cool though, man. I know that you're not a big flying overseas guy. You like to just spread your wings onto the Pacific Northwest and sometimes Washington, D.C., the Virginia DFW area. But London is cool, dude. I walked 40 plus miles. My knee is just in shambles. But that's okay. That'll get better. It's a body part, right? Went to a Chelsea game. Or Jesus, there we go. Camera. Went to a Chelsea game. They lost because they're just not very good right now. But I have to tell you, that atmosphere, we're doing it all wrong over here in the States, bro. I've been to NFL games, been to college football games, been to baseball games. The atmosphere is not that great anyway. People are doing the wave. been to NBA games, all of it, right? I have never heard the "see you next Tuesday" word more in my life than at a Premier League soccer game. 10-year-old kids just throwing the word out. Just see you next Tuesday.
Well, you have the fix then. I mean, you just got to start saying it more at games, bud. I mean, it
Yeah.
sounds like you can take that on your own. I mean, I don't see why that would go bad.
Yeah, maybe it wouldn't, I don't know.
Yeah.
But that was a shocker. All the chants, that was really cool. The one thing that we do have that they don't have, you can't drink a beer in the stands apparently in a Premier League game. Big,
Really?
yeah, it kind of sucked. They do have them in the concourse before the match, but not during the match and not in the stands. So that did kind of suck. But the rest of it was just super cool. I had really good seats. I was in the corner, had a great view, bottom level. Almost didn't go to that game because apparently the Premier League just decides they can change their schedule whenever they want. Um, you know, I spent our tasty money, about $800 on tickets, and the game was supposed to be on Saturday. We had already arranged our Airbnbs, our train tickets, because people do ride the train in England. It's pretty cool. Had arranged all of that for the game being on Saturday. Then about a week before I left, they switched it to Sunday. So me and the gang had to decide, do we want to lose out on a lot of money on tickets or buy $100 train ticket? We bought the train ticket. So I took the train. I took the train 4 times in 2 days. Pretty fun though. And it was an experience. I watched a Englishman, probably like 23 years old, drink 4 or 5 back to back gin and tonics, because you're in England, you drink gin or you drink beer. So that was impressive, all while eating bonbons and all the other British candy you can imagine. So I got the full experience of being on a train in England. Saw a lot of sheep, that was cool. But then we went to Manchester, stayed on our yacht, which we gloated about before I left. Was not a yacht, let me tell you. Also, Manchester,
Loose term.
not on a river. We were in a canal, kind of in the middle of nowhere, outside of the city. We rolled up on it. It was definitely more of a tugboat, but the inside was pretty pimped out. I will give it that. It was cool. But yeah, I was a little shocked when it was not a yacht. It was in fact a tugboat. So
just like a lot more utilitarian than you were anticipating.
Yeah. Tasty's not paying us the big bucks we thought they were. So, we couldn't up it for the actual yacht. But the rest of the trip was cool. I will say this though, the British, all the rumors are true. They cannot cook. Like one bit, the food was bland. It was very fried. I was pretty over it. So, yeah.
So overall, good experience. Just a couple hiccups.
Yeah. I mean, a major hiccup in the very beginning, but I've been known to get hiccups, so it's okay. But the trip overall was cool, man. Also, I did let my wife know because I know she was just so nervous about this. The women over there are not pretty. They, me and my friends described it as, you can tell that these people have been inbreeding for 1,000 years. Jaws out to here, flat faces. They look like, kind of a pug almost, It was bad times.
That's a bad. Yeah. So that's a tough description there. I mean,
yeah.
Some people ride for pugs. I don't.
No. And I think the British might breathe the same way as a pug too. A lot of mouth breathers. You know what I mean?
Does feel like a mouth breathing society, to be fair.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's, those are harsh words, but I mean, they do feel like they do breathe a little bit more through their mouth than most.
Yeah. The pub culture was cool though. I will say that we went on a pub crawl one night and your boy got pretty turned to the max. I was seeing double the whole thing. It was cool. Hadn't gotten that loosey goosey in a while. People are really friendly though. We went to a pub and this was such a weird experience, but the dude told me he liked my accent. I forgot for a moment that I was in a country where I had an accent.
Yep, that's you this time. Yep.
Yeah, it was an odd experience, but he was just a your typical who you would imagine to be in a pub, construction worker, just really cool guy. But we were hanging out with him for a while, went to another pub, came back, and he was so excited the Americans were back. He announced it to the whole pub. I decided to buy him a shot because he was being so nice. He wanted to do tequila, so I bought him a tequila shot. He then, from then on, like the rest of the night, called me Demon. He's letting everybody know, oh, there's my fucking demon, blah, 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 blah. I know that's an Irish accent, but that's about as good as it's.
That's fine. No, I was like, nobody knows. Yeah, they don't have to know. You had me fooled. I was in. Yeah.
He then pulls me aside and says, hey, I'm not going to do the accent anymore. It's dead. But hey, we're celebrating my friend's birthday. She's turning 65. By the way, he could have only been about 33. I don't know why he had a 65-year-old friend, but
because he's friendly. He met you guys are friends. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
you just
you're
met.
Right. Yeah.
Friends with the demon, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, he called me the demon. He's like, we're celebrating my friend's 65th birthday. We got a fuck ton of alcohol, a fuck ton of drugs. And he's like, if you want to go dip your pinky in it, go right ahead. And I declined that pretty quick. I was not going to go get any kind of English drugs from a random pub from a random dude.
Not even a pinky full? Just like a little...
Yeah, you know.
Just a little pinky full?
Not even a little tootsie, you know.
Yeah.
It wasn't the right time or place, or I wasn't with the right people, you know. It just wasn't the vibe. But extremely friendly people over there. I heard that people in London can be really rude. I'd never experienced that. Everybody was super, super, super nice. In fact, when we were in Manchester, we were looking for a whiskey recommendation, and the security guard gave it to us. He had a gold tooth. He had the whole 9 yards. Gave us a great whiskey recommendation. And in my humble opinion, I think that's the perfect person to get a whiskey recommendation from, because you can tell that he drinks whiskey, you know? So
I trust anyone with a gold tooth, just right off the cuff.
Off principle, really. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like, this guy gets it, dude.
He's just living his life, dude.
This guy, like this guy's only making good decisions.
Yeah. It was weird though, that like college football, like for example, like I think it wasn't the U of A game because they tipped off a little bit earlier, but those patented Pac-12 after dark, like 8 o'clock starts, were now happening at like 4 o'clock in the morning. So that was odd. I woke up to USC still playing. Very, very odd experience. The NFL games, the 10 o'clock slate was going on at like 8 o'clock at night, that was actually a treat, really.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, you know, I was in a pub drinking, watching the Ravens lose to the Colts. So that was cool. That was a treat. But the time zone thing really does mess you up for sure. It's just odd times.
The Ravens only lost because your speech the week before too. That's the only reason I thought that was funny. You announced the Ravens as the best team in the league, and sure enough, the Colts got them. You know what I mean? I was like, man, that's just classic podcasting karma, man. There's nothing you can do, you know. That one's on you. I mean, frankly, Ravens might still be legit, but I mean, that one's on you.
Yeah, I'll wear that. I was on a train from Manchester when the game kicked off, and was getting intermittent Wi-Fi, and I felt like every time the Wi-Fi came back on, we were turning the ball over. So that was an experience for sure. You know, but overall,
I was doing the inverse here. You know, we had Ryder Cup going at 2 a.m. till 10 a.m. So, you know, kind of doing the same thing, but different here.
Yeah.
Trying to enjoy sports, but also trying to sleep, trying to pay attention to Ryder Cup. But what a ridiculous hour to have it be on.
Yeah. If you would have been in London like me, it would have been fine, you know?
Yeah, it would have been totally normal.
Yep.
Totally simple. And that's why I actually really don't mind you talking a little smack about them, because they basically handed it to USA. So I'm a little mad at the English right now. I mean, I'm not mad, but you know, it's disappointing. It's disappointing.
I do find it funny that the English play for the European team when they decided through Brexit that they wanted no part of being part of a European Union. So I think that they should have their own team. You know, they should have their own team.
They should. And I would love to just beat that team. But you know, I like that we take on all of Europe. I can appreciate that we take on the task, although
did we though?
We didn't really take it on. Yeah. I was it didn't go well at all. It was pretty much a shellacking.
Yeah. Why don't we just talk about it? Because I was talking to golf expert of the pod, James Rogers, beforehand, and he called it. He said, I think it's going to be an absolute beatdown by the Euros. And he was right. The U.S. got absolutely pummeled. I think I saw a stat today that the only American to not have a losing record was Brooks Koepka. You went 1-1-1. So
Homa went 3-1-1. So Homa was by
false
far,
stat.
yeah. But I mean, whatever. We can just throw it around. No one's really paying attention to them now that we lost. But Homa was like to me for like the U.S. like the one shining bright spot. Homa played really well. So it was really nice to see him do well, and I think it's going to do a lot for him, propelling him moving forward. I think he's a big he needs to have those experiences and build his confidence. He's one of those guys that you can follow his career accordingly. So really excited for him. But the rest was a beatdown, and not really surprising. We haven't won in Europe since 1993, so not really surprising. Like we just don't go over there and win. We do well on our own home turf, but we just struggle over there. It's such fun golf, though. I still get sucked in, man. It's just JT represented himself pretty well. He definitely was not the problem. Jordan Spieth was unbelievably bad. Like, I mean, that was just. I mean, he was in those 4 balls, which is really just best ball, kind of like what me and you have played before, right? We're just taking the best score and it's me and you, but it's kind of a lot like when me and you were playing where I'm like, well, Dugan's out. So like, all right, here we go. Now I just got to do that. And so Spieth was doing that to his partners a lot and then really wasn't playing well on his own. Morikawa didn't really shine. Scheffler had moments, but like it just was bad across the board. And I mean, the Europeans have a ton of talent, so it's not like some huge shock to me. It's not incredibly disheartening, but it would have been nice if it would have just been a little bit more dramatic coming down to it today. It was pretty much wrapped up with a little bit of drama this morning, but most of the drama was over by 9 o'clock, which lined up nicely for the NFL Sunday. So at least they kindly, got out of the way to make way for T Swifty's league.
Yeah, I wonder when they get into Italy, right? Because I'm not going to lie to you. I've done this a couple of times in the last couple of months. That flight over and then the preceding time difference does get to you. I'm not a nap guy, but I always take a nap immediately once I get to wherever I'm staying in Europe. So I wonder if they just didn't take their naps because it'll get you.
Well, they were rolling out some bad excuses. There was some, apparently some nasty incongestion going through the team. I mean, you can imagine, right? So think about that incongestion. You'd hate to have that.
That Italian
we had the drama of Patrick Cantlay not wearing a hat, which, allegedly had something to do with him being paid, but that story was also being pushed back on pretty heavily. So probably really nothing there, but maybe. So we had a hatless Cantlay, I should say, and we had congestion. So there's a lot, working against the Americans. That maybe could have been solved by a simple sinus and flu medication, but nonetheless, it was disappointing. Didn't work out. Cool, really course setup. Like if you're a golf nerd, if you're a tasty guy, and you're living golf week in and week out, really cool setup of that course. Like 16, 17, and 18 played masterfully. A lot of drama on a lot of those holes, but a lot of times, frankly, U.S. was done 4 and 3. Which means they didn't even have to play those last 3 holes. So we were just getting smoked. We were just getting walked right off the course most of the time. So course didn't really get a shine, and we pretty much just got whooped pretty much across the board. So shout out Max Homa, and see you again for the next one.
Yeah, that was rough. I know we were looking forward to the Ryder Cup for a while too, and wasn't looking forward to that bad of a beatdown. I didn't think we'd show out that poorly, to be honest with you, because I feel like outside of a few guys like Rahm, the Americans have been doing pretty well in a lot of the major cups. So kind of weird that we just dropped the ball, but what are you going to do? It is Europe's game.
So. It's just fun because it's like, it's the only time you really get these golfers pissed and pointing at the crowd and yelling stuff out, and so you do get a little more into it. I think you start to get fired up, and the same thing you get with the Olympics or whatever. But then when you're just getting your ass kicked, you're just like, well, I mean, that was a fun moment, Homa, but the rest of your team just isn't here. So
it was just a European vacation for the rest of them,
it was pretty much. I'm sure they had a lovely time. I mean, look, these guys were all on private flights, and look, they got enough sleep, man. Come on. These guys just didn't show up. It just wasn't a good showing. This wasn't a good showing.
Is Max Homa Italian? I think he is, right?
Yeah, that's what he's
makes sense then.
He was
playing in front of the home crowd.
He's playing in front of the home crowd, exactly. Yes. Much like Pacheco tonight back in Jersey. He was feeling it. Yeah.
Yeah, that home cooking hits different, so I'm sure Max was partaken in that, and that's what fueled him. The rest of those guys are just used to that English food that just does not take you anywhere. So
Yeah. Only other really controversy that came out of it, outside of like some really petty back and forth, typical golf stuff. Your feelings on wearing suit with like the loafers or the dress shoe, no socks. Your thoughts?
it depends. So you said two things: loafers, no socks. I'm down with. That's fine. Dress shoe, no socks. That can be a little precarious. But
I feel like it was more of a loafer look, but
okay.
I also didn't really dig into it. But I just kind of from peripheral caught
Yeah.
some
But
stray.
also in today's day and age, I feel like a lot of guys do that. You know, like our former boss did that all the time. He would wear loafers or dress shoes with no socks or like ankle socks. So, I mean, to each their own. Really, was that a thing that people were mad about?
Yeah, there's a lot of the early controversy before the event got started was just really a heated debate by, because golf fans. I mean, they're just arguing about everything, as you know, as you've dipped your toes into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, that was like the early thing was just really like, hey, these guys are like absolute animals. I mean, they're not even wearing socks. These people disgust me, and I'm hey man, I'm like a no sock guy. Like if I can, like I wear socks with when I'm wearing a suit, which is like you're gonna catch me once a year. But like if I am, I'm generally wearing socks. However, I'm very pro no socks. Like I'm for the
Yeah.
boat shoe look. I'm like put those little slides out. Like if you can free yourself of wearing socks, I say go for it.
I've seen you golf. You seldom don't wear socks. You just throw on
Yeah, I'll just
the night.
play and I'll just slide stuff on, and that really annoys people too. Nothing like beating someone without socks on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It stings them on a level that you really can't explain.
Yeah. I mean, you don't even have the competitive advantage of like wisping away the sweat from your feet, So
Yep, that's right.
giant slap in the face to the competition, really.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's really dumb that people get caught up on that. But also, like you said, it's unsurprising that somebody on Twitter got mad about that because it is Twitter. So it makes sense. I did have a question. You might know better. I just saw it on Twitter, like briefly, but of course, it caught my eye. Was what happened with Rory? He got into a little altercation.
Yeah, it was like so. It all stemmed from like the hat situation. So
Okay.
the drama was that Cantley wasn't wearing a hat, right? There was this alleged that like it was him sort of protesting wearing the USA hat because they're not getting paid to be there. That's sort of the root of the story that was being leaked out. So Cantley continued to not wear a hat. Ultimately, he ends up saying that there's just no hat big enough, which sounds like the stupidest thing ever. Which makes me go back to like maybe this is real. I don't know. But essentially, all of the Europeans, all of the fans, and I'll demonstrate here, continue to taunt him like this
Yeah.
by taking their hats off and just sort of like waving them at him. So Cantley makes a really big putt, fired up. The crowd's still all whatever, like so they're kind of getting into it. And his caddy or one of the members of, and I believe it's just one of the caddies, but gets involved and like is just he's doing it too. Everybody's taunting them, and it became the thing where everybody's doing this hat waving back and forth. In that process, he sort of stepped into just the area of which Rory's assessing and approaching his putt. So
Okay.
there was just like a violation of space, if you
Okay.
will,
Yep.
in terms of all of the taunting. Rory gets into it with him. There's a little back and forth. I think a lot of people's feelings are, Rory, you're not that guy. I don't think anybody on the golf course is really that guy that should be getting in
Yeah.
anyone's face. So I'm not really sure how that argument holds. Like, I don't want to see any of these guys in a fight. Like I don't. Brooks at least had a mullet. Maybe Brooke can throw one punch, but I mean, I'm
Brooks
pretty
got
sure.
it. He's
I
a
think there's a
thicker guy.
lot of slap fighting going on with any of these guys. So I would say much to do about nothing ultimately, but they did get in Rory's space.
God, I mean this in the nicest way possible, but golf is the lamest sport sometimes.
It can be, it really can be. No, 100%.
I
Yeah,
love
like
it.
I hate that part of it too. I'm with you.
Yeah. I love golf. Don't get me wrong. I love playing golf. I like
Yep.
watching it when it's not this, but that is the dumbest shit ever. I'm sorry.
That's why, dude, that's why I love seeing it trend away from that just generally. I'm glad it's less and less pretentious. It's less people calling in on their phone about some rule. Like, the further we can get away from that, the better for me in golf. And that's why I always thought Ryder Cup was so fun, is it actually would you get to see guys get fired up and yell at the crowd, like, shut the, like, I love that. Like actually telling someone in the crowd to shut up. Like, I freaking love it. There's actually a really great clip of Lowry too on the European side. This is actually really funny because I think this is funny for like any golf fan. And from going to an event now, there's like those people that are holding up the quiet signs and all that, right? Mm-hmm. He turns around to the crowd and he's like, quiet, please, everybody. And Lowry turns to the guy and he's like, hey, buddy, you're like the only one talking. Just shut up. Basically, he's like, these people are all being like quiet and respectful. Like, you're the only one I can hear yapping right now. So how about you just stop? Which I thought was like a pretty great moment too. So a lot of little good moments in there, a lot of gems. Hovland's a big winner in all of this. He's still in the come up. I know you're a big fan of his fashion.
I am.
He seems like a really fun guy. Feels like Spicoli on the golf course a bit. Big vibes guy.
To James, he was talking about Victor just being great, and I was like, yeah, he's got great fashion sense, so he's got my vote of confidence. Good to hear he played well. So
he did. He rocked. He played really well, and that's the thing is like a lot of times I'll be rooting for a lot of these European guys. Like I really like Tommy Fleetwood. There's guys that I like, but gonna back America when given the opportunity. And for those though that are rooting for Europe, by the way, shame on you. And you know who you are. You know who you are. Like I have some friends that I can clearly tell are flirting with the enemy, and I'm like, you're a sicko. What are you doing? Yeah. Like, I know we have our flaws, and whatever. We can talk about that some other time. But come on, you got to pull for the States.
As somebody that's been to Europe in the past couple months, I want to know something, and I know you won't be able to answer this, but like I've gone a few times. I've gone to Spain. I've gone to England now. Ireland doesn't pertain to this, but where are the golf courses? Because like when I was in England, for example, on the train, saw one golf course from London to Manchester, which is a 2.5-hour train ride. Where are these people playing? Are they just playing out in a field? Like Spain, I saw no golf courses, so I don't know.
Well, I'm sure Europe has probably gone like in the United States, it's always right. Grow the game. Probably in Europe, it's shrink the game, and that's probably why they've kept it exclusive, and why the people that do make it are the snobbiest, borderline most obnoxious people on the planet that I've spent my time and days rooting for. But that would just be my guess. But you're right. We need to ask somebody who lives there, not certainly me. Yeah,
I think we need to take a trip out there and try to play a game. That's for no other reason, just to find the course. That's the only reason we would do that. Definitely not for any kind of personal reasons to want to golf in Europe, but just to investigate, because I'm telling you right now, I didn't see any. I only saw one. So
we'll have to hit a Jacksonville Jags beat writer up on this in the meantime. Just get to the I mean, he's got 2 weeks out there.
Yeah, there you go. Who was the guy on Live Tour? Peters? I can't remember his first name. He was a Dutch dude. But
the really tall guy.
Yeah, I remember him talking on the Barstool podcast, the golf one, about how like uninclusive golf is in Europe. Apparently, like in certain countries, you have to like take a test to even be able to like go on a golf course.
Yeah, so that is shrink the game.
That is wild. Like meanwhile, us over here in the U.S. are just like, hey, grab your beer, grab your clubs, throw on some kind of clothes, and go hit the course. Europe's like, no, sir. Take this written exam first, and then we'll let you on. Two worlds, really. It's crazy. I can't believe we're the same people.
Yeah, that's exactly my thoughts, though, is that they're going in the total opposite direction. They're like, let's not open this up to anybody. Let's keep the money right where it is.
Yeah.
Let's not let anybody in.
We'll kick their ass eventually. We have John Daly out here going on College Game Day, admitting that he's drunk. So, we got the right people leading the way. So I'm not worried about it. Cool, man. College football happened. I did catch the games this weekend. Some pretty good ones. First off, I do want to give a shout out to a friend of the show, friend of the pod, Noah Fafita. Did have his first official start. Arizona played the number 7 team in the country and played them pretty damn tight, dude. That game was legit. I believe you were out there tailgating, right?
Yeah, I did tailgate a little bit and then dipped out. I did like the ceremonious not go to the game tailgate sesh.
Perfect.
Because we had some friends out there. Yeah, which is a good time. It's nice to get out there on the lawn, hang out outside, enjoy some of the. It is better. I mean, it's fun to go to games. Don't get me wrong. And if you guys are Arizona fans, keep going. We love to see the support. It sold out. That was awesome. Love to see it. Program continues to be trending in a great direction, but so excited for Noah, man. He played really well. I think it was a really nice showing for, up against a top 10 opponent, getting your first live reps, really. I mean, outside of, a series here or there.
Yep.
Shown really well for himself, played really well, and I think put himself in the conversation to, potentially steal that job. I think there's still going to be some back and forth on that. I'm curious to see what you think the feeling is there, but I think he's going to have a shot.
Yeah, I think in order to steal the job, he would have to beat Washington or just go like ham, like 400 yards, 4 tutties, no mistakes, right? I think he still had like a really good showing. What do you have, like probably like 250 passing yards, 3 tutties? He had the one bad pick where he just kind of stared down the receiver, which that isn't surprising at all for a guy in his first start against frickin' UW. And then he almost had the other pick staring down T-Mac. But dude, that kid's escapability and everything was really impressive. There are a lot of times where he should have been sacked and he just spun out of it. So that was really impressive. I think he grew within the game too. Like early on, he was afraid to kind of run when he had that open space. And then by the end of the game, he was kind of darting all over the field a little bit, just getting a real feel for the pocket and everything. His connection with T-Mac, like I know that those guys are like best friends, brothers, whatever you want to call it. Like if Delora either gets hurt again or I don't know, like he does get, knocked off the throne, or even just next year if Delora leaves for the NFL or whatever, that's a scary combo. Those guys have some unreal chemistry. He was slinging that thing to T-Mac, and T-Mac is going to make a lot of NFL teams just ready to draft that kid in the first round.
It's just exciting to have a healthy quarterback room, right? I mean, just knowing that we're too deep, and like both of those guys can play at this level. We've watched plenty of Arizona teams that didn't have one of those guys,
dude.
So to have two is crazy.
I'm thinking back to those days, like when we had like Matt Scott and like Brennan Dawkins, and like Matt Scott getting just absolutely concussed, and then Brennan Dawkins having to come in and just was not good. No longer the case. We have definitely at least 2-man deep, and I hear good things about Dorman. Dude, Fifita, I texted him before the game. I was like, hey, man, go ball out. And he, of course, replied, I appreciate it. And then I made a real effort to text him after the game, just like telling him, dude, like hell of a job, like tough team out there. You damn near did it. I made sure to throw out there, I was like, you just may be better at football than you are at golf. So, we want to give him some big congrats because that's not an easy task. It's not like he was playing UTEP or somebody like that. Homeboy, his first start came up against a top 10 team, arguably probably one of the best teams in the country. I mean,
I think so.
Yeah, that offense alone is scary. Michael Penix Jr. is very, very good. And then that defense played very, very well as well. And dude, we lost by a touchdown. So, what's the phrase, John? Like, good teams win games, but great teams cover, or something like that.
Yeah, great teams cover. I mean, the great teams cover is all you need to know, and that's what they've been doing. They've been, they've just been really competitive, man. And I know it's like we don't, with Ben here, we talk a little bit more holistically. I'm glad we get to kind of nerd out on Arizona a little bit, and it's just fun to have like them be able to play competitive, meaningful games. Like I don't think anyone who's been an Arizona fan for a long time in the football world like gets too greedy. We just want to be like competitive, right? Have that chance to make a run every now and then at like, winning our division and within our conference, and maybe we get to a conference, give us that every couple, whatever. I don't even know what the number is, every 4 years, 5 years, whatever it is. And in the meantime, let's just win and go to bowl games. Like, let's just go to bowl games. Let's put some players in the NFL. My buddy, I had a buddy who lives in LA, and he's a U of A alum. So I don't know why he's asking this question, but he's literally said to me, he's like, hey, are we like a position U? Like, like at this school, it's like defensive back U. And he's like, what is like Arizona's of that? I'm like, buddy, we haven't had anybody drafted in like 10 years. I don't think we should be telling anybody we're any business U just yet. Like I would love for that to happen again, or like we can talk about it in context from 20 years ago, but I'm like, I don't think that's
Yeah.
really a thing we got going. And but maybe we're on the verge of turning that around.
Yeah, I mean, I think once upon a time you could call us maybe like DBU of the
Yep,
Pac-12.
I think so too. At some
Like
point,
Kaysen and all those other guys,
McAllister, yeah, going back.
McAllister. Yeah, but yeah, you're completely right, dude. Like the last, I don't know, 10, 15 years were like undrafted, maybe make the team you know what I mean?
Pretty much once I came on board,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like every couple seasons we get a few guys that make the team undrafted, and that makes us feel real special. But going forward, dude, like shoot, like if I was gonna highlight a position group that could end up being kind of our like wide receivers, definitely one of those things. Like you got T-Mac, you got what's his face?
Cowing,
thank you. He looked great. Even that Colorado transfer, Montana Lamonius Craig, or I don't.
Yeah.
Is that his name? Yeah,
Lamonius Craig. Yeah.
He looked good. But even dude, like we're kind of getting back to the tight end too, because like, dude, like the whole offense is looking great. You know what I was really happy with though is like my college years were all Rich Rod and like rolling out Parker Zellers and like having a 240-pound nose tackle. And nowadays, like, dude, our D line's beefy and they were making plays out there, dude. It was so cool to see the stat that Michael Penix Jr. had only been sacked one time all year. And like, I think U of A had like 3 sacks that night. Like they were getting to him. So like you said, dude, at the end of the day, like it's so refreshing to just see this team play hard. Like they're playing hard every single snap and making a real run of it. Like in any other, like if Vegas is right and logic prevails, like U of A should have lost by like 4 touchdowns. They lost by 1. And like we're right there at the end, like knocking on the door. So I'll give Coach Fish credit, man. He's building something. So hopefully we can pony up and keep him and keep bringing in the recruits, because that's another thing they're doing great too, is they're recruiting their asses off. So it's fun times to be an Arizona fan, man. You can actually see a vision, whereas before it's just like, what the hell are we doing? You know?
Yeah, no, it's big time, dude. Shout out to the whole program. Like, I mean, just like across the board, it's just it's such a breath of fresh air, man. We're long overdue to have just like respectable football and something I can put my eyes on and not be upset about or be ashamed to even like enter the conversation of college football as an Arizona fan. Like you're like, we were so irrelevant. It's like, I mean, people are like, you don't even have a football team, which is what it felt like.
Yeah, we might as well have been Gonzaga, you know?
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
Speaking of Gonzaga, hopefully Tommy sees the writing on the wall that Fish is out here doing big things and he needs to also do big things. So we'll see.
Well, some nice whispers on the recruiting trail. I think he might be starting to have some momentum, and you know, I'll just say this too, because like, I mean, I know we've probably talked about it before, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to be wrong on all these hires, and I couldn't be happier. Like, if that's the case, like, dude, I'm like, I could not be happier.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have been the guys I probably would have chosen in either scenario, and it might end up working out great. And I couldn't be happier to be wrong. No problem.
Yep.
I'm an idiot. Go Cats. You know.
Big 12 better look out. That's all I'm gonna say. Like
Big 12 looks terrible. So
your quote from last show, where we might actually just come in and just actually do really well, like that might be a real thing, dude. Like they went 1-11 this weekend. Like the only win that they had was Baylor beating UCF, which is also in the Big 12.
Which is, yeah, like interconference. Yeah.
Yeah. So man, we might be coming in with the guns firing, dude. You know, on both sides of the coin, basketball and football.
Shout out Kansas, we're coming.
Yeah, that kind of sucked. I like it when Kansas does well in football, because it reminds me of us doing well in football.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, but then when they just got out and just got annihilated by Texas, that's
big, like Kentucky, Kansas, Syracuse football guy.
Yeah. Anytime those programs do well, I'm like, okay, cool. I can see a vision of us doing pretty well, you know.
Yeah.
But it's kind of always the same thing with those programs. They all have a pretty good start and then they just shit the bed. So hopefully we can buck that trend. But yeah, Big 12 had a rough weekend. Ben is not here. He wanted me to read off a message, actually.
Notes app.
Yeah.
It's not an apology. Is this a resignation?
It's not a resignation, no, but it is an apology. He had a rough week. I forgot to put out the slate because I was abroad, but
Yeah.
so no fault to anybody. I know you didn't follow his picks, but he wanted me to let everybody know, quote, "It's unacceptable. We'll watch the tape, bury the football, and be better prepared next week," unquote. So he is sitting, I think he told me, one game above 500 for the year. So he's still above 50. That's not bad, right?
But Ben would tell you,
yeah,
because obviously he's a man of integrity and accountability, that if you're batting 50%, that you're not making money in the gambling world.
yeah, like he said last show, he's in losing money range right now, and that's not where we want to see Benny Diamond Hands one bit. We want to see him making money and buying an extra TV so he can actually watch these games and not Paw Patrol.
But I think this 1 week suspension, this self-imposed sanction, I think is really what he needs. I expect him to fully turn this around and recover. I think he really finished strong last year. I expect it'll be very similar this year. He just really, he's just got to keep putting in the work, as you mentioned. Get back to the tape. I mean, I think his frame of mind's and his head's in the right space.
Yeah,
I feel good about it coming down the home stretch, Ben. So we believe in you.
Yeah, I totally do. And you know what? His Nittany Lions beat just the living shit out of Northwestern, so I'm sure he's okay.
Yeah, he's going to be fine.
Yeah. Iowa scored 26 points, so they're on track.
But after following that 0, it's close, right? Aren't they like right on the number? They're like dangerously close, I feel like.
Yeah.
They were shut out the week before
by Penn State.
Yeah, right? Penn State. Yeah, right after that. Which, by the way, this is like so great. I love that he comes out with a commentary of like, "Hey, why don't you get out of my ass for a week? Because we just dropped 40 on whoever the hell that was." To follow that up with an absolute shutout. Yeah. Hey, guess what, buddy? We're right back in your fucking ass. Yeah.
I don't know who you're looking at right now.
Yeah, I think like as I'm saying it, I'm like, I don't want to be like, I'm waiting for you to clip this and be like, and then look at Henny getting up in people's asses. But like, I just love that he came out and was like so fervent about that. He really like loved himself when he was saying that, and I'm like,
yeah.
Regrettably, everybody's going to be right back in your asshole, just as a heads up, after you put up 0 points. So hope you enjoyed the 1 week break, let it breathe. But
and then he comes back and he meets the bare minimum. Hey, we need to average 25 and a half. Here's 26, baby.
Yes. So he's towing the line. I mean, he should be nervous.
Yeah, he should be for sure. Michigan beat the shit out of Nebraska. So sorry, Chase. Nebraska still blows. Georgia barely beat Auburn. That was a close one. Dude, the whole like idea that we had a few weeks ago that like college football, there's just a lot of bad teams right now. Very true. Like,
I think we're spot on. I don't think there's any really great teams this year. I think which means it's wide open. So for Ben, like Penn State seems realistic to me just because I'm not impressed with anybody.
No, yeah. Georgia, like, I don't know what to make of them. Like, they should have beat the shit out of Auburn. Didn't.
Yeah, just Bowers just by himself.
USC was up big on Colorado, and then in pure Alex Grinch USC fashion, let them right back in the game. That's a shit show if I've ever seen one. Like, they are going to get beat by somebody. Let's hope it's
100%.
Let's hope it's the boys in Tucson next week. I truly believe that could be upset alert. Could be. Defense.
Anybody can stick with them because they're like, as I say, their defense is so bad. Like anybody can hang around. If you can score points, like there's a good chance you're going to be in that game.
Yep. Florida got the shit beat out of them by Kentucky. Again, weird football. Can't guess anything really. Missouri beat Vanderbilt. That was easy. Vanderbilt is probably one of the worst programs ever. LSU and Ole Miss. That game was insane. Jaden Daniels got absolutely rocked one play. I don't know if you saw that highlight. That was fun to watch.
Every time Jaden Daniels gets hit, it looks like he's gonna die. He's so wispy. Like, dude, I mean, I know we've been like hypercritical of him because he was a former ASU kid, but he really does just look like he weighs 8 pounds. And it's just when he does get hit, it is violent.
Yeah, he went out on a run and he got absolutely annihilated by an Ole Miss defender, and it was bad. He fumbled the ball. It looked like he might have died. But that game was wild because I think Ole Miss had like this might not even be an exaggeration, but it was like 800, 900 yards of offense. Like they went insane. So again, weird football. Oregon did what they had to do. Oklahoma just destroyed Iowa State. Again, Big 12 just sucking ass.
Football names.
Notre Dame barely beat Duke. Just perennial frauds. I don't believe anything they're selling.
What a meeting of those fan bases, though. You would have loved that cocktail hour. Holy hell, Jesus!
I think I'd rather go shovel shit than go to that tailgate. You know what I mean?
Dude, what a smarmy bunch of no fucking way, man. There's no way.
God, yeah, I know. Like Duke already sucks, but when you just pair him with Notre Dame, like it's just a bunch of people that make more money than me. Honestly.
Yeah, it's definitely like a different. There's a lot of like 1% talk going on that's like, yeah, just either going over your head or just like you're slightly perturbed by because you understand it, but you're like you're mocking me.
Yeah, that sucks. But God, Notre Dame every year. This is so when Ben had his Communist Manifesto on last episode about how we shouldn't have rankings at the beginning of the season, that blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. The only time I agree with that is with Notre Dame, because Notre Dame is always in the top like 10 at the beginning of the season, and they just suck. They always drop some stupid game that they shouldn't. They lost to Ohio State, and then they almost lose to Duke. Ohio State's been playing like shit all year. Duke is Duke. Like, yes, they've been playing better, but come on, you know. And they're going to, because they're an independent, they're going to find themselves in the playoff talk, and it's just so stupid. It's so gross, and I'm so over it. So,
same.
Yeah. But that's pretty much the college football slate. You know, nothing crazy to report. A lot of bad football. Ben did bad. So, you know, since he's not here, we won't go too far into.
Well, we have a lot of other stuff this week.
The
NBA dropped bombs on us, and the NFL kept happening. So,
yeah, which one do you want to tackle first? Do you want to stay on the football train, or do you want to go straight into?
Probably, right?
Yeah. Your team won. Justin Herbert's finger did not win. Khalil Mack did win, but your coach almost blew it again. Thoughts?
Yeah, that's back-to-back weeks where he's gone for it on fourth down, deep in his own territory, late in games, and still found a way to win. So shout out to Justin Herbert for being a god and winning in spite of Staley, which has been incredible. Khalil Mack, yeah, as you mentioned, was great. 6 sacks today. I mean, that's pretty good.
Dude.
It's a pretty good number to put up. A lot of also, I think, like bad football on the Raiders' part. A lot of Aiden O'Connell as a rookie quarterback holding onto the ball, staring at people, probably very confused at what he was seeing, opting not to make the big mistake and instead just accepting sacks. A lot of like Mac just kind of holding O'Connell, as O'Connell just said, that's good. Thank you, sir. So like a lot of that in terms of sacks. So it wasn't like didn't feel like a devastating performance the way like Micah's looked, but it certainly was obviously effective and he was getting after the quarterback. And then, yeah, I mean, Herbert gets hurt. But then also, you know, sticks in there, stays in the game, and then throws like a 45-yard rope down the sideline to ice the game after a big pick from Asante Samuel. Of course, as is tradition with our defense, though, Asante Samuel makes a pick late in the game, about 2 minutes, 30 seconds left, has the entire field in front of him, could have just taken to the house and ended the game with absolute certainty. Of course, slides down. Raiders still have timeouts. And of course, we're still playing this game out in real time because we're just the dumbest team. I mean, I just can't imagine. We're just so dumb. We just continue to make terrible, you know, and my friends are like, what's going on? Like, why would he do? I'm like, dude, our coach doesn't understand time and situation. How could our players possibly? I mean, and could they? Sure. But time and time again, we proved to be just one of the stupidest teams in the NFL. But all of that said, we're 2-2. So, and we got to buy a week, and hopefully Herbert doesn't, as long as it's not something that has to be surgically repaired, I assume the extra week gives them enough time and they'll tape it up. It's not his throwing hand and we'll live.
Dude, he looked like RoboCop out there with like the bionic freaking finger. Like it was wild to look at. He's incredible. He is legitimately the only reason you're not 0-4. Like he is so good.
Yeah, and they threw him back under center too, mind you, to run a QB sneak with his broken hand for the one play that we didn't get. Because Staley's just full of brilliant ideas. I mean, he just one after the other. Just can't even keep him in the truck. They're just falling out all over the streets. He's got so many damn good ideas. The guy is just—it's so painful, Dugan. I mean, it's nice to get those 2 wins. I'm glad we're back in it. The season's not all lost, but it's so hard to have like any real hope for anything significant.
I just love the fact that like 2 of my best friends are Chargers fans, like you and my friend Tyler, and you both send me like carbon copy messages about the team.
Just
like,
yeah, it's not
like Tyler texted me. I texted him initially just like, oh my God, Khalil Mack. And he's like, yeah, I've been waiting for this defense to show up for a while. Like they'll probably still blow it, but blah, blah, blah. And then as the clock was ticking down at the end, he's like, this would be the most Chargers thing ever if we ended up blowing this when Khalil Mack has 6 sacks. And almost did. So I just really enjoy it, you know, like as a sick friend. So
no, I totally get it. And I mean, I just teeter between like I'm okay and I've accepted it and like I'm just definitely not okay. You know, and it just depends on what moment you're getting me during that game because I've already fully accepted every loss as I just show up to start a game. Like I'm like, and there's nothing more to like. Honestly, the Chargers having what were we up 24-3 again or something? Like, I mean, that's the thing. We're up 24 at half. My brother, who's a fake Chargers fan sometimes, I don't know what he is. He's a Chargers fan, I guess, again, but he was a Raiders fan for portions of his life. Do whatever with that information that you will.
I'm confused.
Love you, bro, but I still have no idea what's going on. But he's like, 24 points. He's like, oh, Chargers on pace to get. I'm like, we're on pace to get 30, dude. I'm gonna tell you right now, Staley's already like turned off all the engines. He's making sure like this is going to be a close game. There's no chance in hell we're just burying this team, and without fail, we just absolutely cannot put a team away in that way. He absolutely refuses to give us enjoyable football any given Sunday. So.
I think it'll get better when Eckler comes back, when you actually have a real run game. Because Joshua Kelly had a better game this week, but man, he has just not been the guy. You know?
He's not it. No, we're much better with Eckler. Derwin James is out. Bosa was out. I mean, there's guys missing. I mean, that kind of is par for the course. Lindley, the center's out. I mean, there's guys, but to me, it's just we're so much better than the Raiders. I mean, we just are. I mean, if you just took the quarterback position alone, and just a friendly reminder on how having a quarterback in the NFL works. Patrick Mahomes put an absolute clinic tonight and just erased. I mean, like the guy's ridiculous, right? He just absolutely ices out games like by himself, does it however he wants.
By himself? I mean, I think he might have had the zebras in his back pocket a little bit.
Well, I mean, I feel like honestly, like that Sauce has been getting away with murder out there week after week. Sauce is the only guy I'm seeing, which by the way, so Jets fans, before you cry about this, Sauce is the only guy who's consistently being offensive interfered with every single week, which is a call that I never see made, but Sauce is getting, I swear, 2 a week. He's being refereed or officiated like completely different than any other DB in the league that I'm watching. So for him to get a flag there, I was like, well, whatever. But you're right. It might have been a little questionable. It was a little sketchy. If you're a Jets fan, I get it, but
it's just because it's the Chiefs.
But Mahomes, yeah, well, I know that's what's frustrating. That's what. Well, that was like my immediate comment was like, well, Sauce can cheat unless it's Patty Boy. Yeah, it's a little different, but
Patty played bad the first half too, man. Some of those picks he was throwing they were bad, So
I think they'll look bad like a lot of the year and just keep winning games though. That's what's you know what I mean. They didn't look good last year, and then they won the Super Bowl. I was like never convinced they were any good, and then they won the Super Bowl. So
they do that. You're right.
Yeah, that's a real problem. Those Chiefs.
Zach Wilson did look better, though.
He did. He did show nicely.
Grown into the game. If he had an offensive line, I think he'd be okay. But that offensive line is so bad, so bad that they got their quarterback killed within 8 seconds. So
yeah. Kirk Cousins looking at that line like it's pretty decent, though.
Kirk had a tough day at the office today, didn't he?
Kirk is moving into that. Kirk is quickly trending into that like Phillip Rivers, Eli, like where he's just like just get this ball out of my hands, dude. I got kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's the whole meme. Fuck it, someone's down there kind of.
Yeah, it's definitely. Which like, but they can't block anybody. That poor guy is under duress. So I kind of feel for him this year a little bit. I'm like, man, this guy has made a lot of money, but he might be time to check out there, Kirk.
Did you see him get absolutely blown up on the pick six too? Like,
Yeah.
I'll give him credit, dude. Like most quarterbacks are just like,
Yeah.
nah, I'm not about it. But he tried to chase him down and he got blown up.
Yeah, that's what happened to Herbert. I mean, it was he threw that pick, so he finally made it his first turnover of the year and broke his finger for it, or whatever happened. I guess that's something like that. But let's talk about your guys. I'm kind of curious what you think because I think they do look really good, generally speaking, and obviously they're playing winning football. I
Yeah.
guess my question for you, and this is just what I'm curious about, and I don't have any problem with it because like I always like watching Lamar run and do his thing, but isn't it kind of the same?
What is last year?
Yeah, like as any year. I'm just kind of trying to like see the discernible difference in the
Hmm.
offense and like, but you're probably watching like the entirety of a game as to where I'm
Yeah.
bouncing around in games on that, I'm not watching a full Ravens game. Do you feel like it is different?
Yeah, for sure. Under Greg Roman, there were so many like designed quarterback runs, and this year that's not the case. The only time I really see designed quarterback runs is in like at the goal line.
Red zone, yeah.
Yeah,
They're
like
definitely running design runs in the red zone, yeah.
like the 2 touchdowns Lamar had today on the ground were in the red zone. Which
Yep,
like if you weren't doing that, you're a shitty offensive coordinator. Like the guy's
agree.
probably the best runner in the NFL. Well, I mean, he definitely is. So, like, why would you not want to do that? Honestly, yeah, dude, it looks a lot different. Like again, not as much power run game. They have the
Yeah,
run game as a complement, but they're chucking the ball around a little bit for sure. Lamar Jackson, God, he is as like how I just said. The only reason you guys are 2-2 is because of Herbert. The
yeah,
only reason we're three
agree.
and one is because of Lamar Jackson. And
Yep,
like you take away a game last week in Baltimore where it was raining sideways because of the hurricane and they just couldn't hold on to the ball, like we might be 4-0. Lamar Jackson's stupid. Like he is just so good. That touchdown pass he had to Mark Andrews, like thing of beauty. Like put it. What did Charles Davis say today? Put it where only the grown people can get it. Keep it away from the kids or something like that.
yeah,
I don't know. It was beautiful, and he makes these stupid throws that like he's just running and like the defense has him dead to rights and he does that little sidearm action kind of like Mahomes and just
yep.
finds that pocket of space, dude. He's so good. How the Ravens are 3-1, I have no clue though, because this team is just so cursed when it comes to injuries. Today they were missing Ronnie Stanley, their left tackle. Morgan Moses left the game like mid-game, their right tackle. They were already missing OBJ and Rashad Bateman. They're missing J.K. Dobbins, obviously. They lost like 4 corners during the game, missing Marcus Williams. So like I don't know how they're doing it, but they're doing it. I will say this that their linebacking core is filthy with Patrick Queen and Roquan. Like
Roquan, yeah.
Roquan is insane. Like he's so damn good. Like, and he's such a leader that it's really cool to see. Like, I know you don't love Ray Lewis, but it's probably the closest we've gotten to having Ray Lewis since he left. Just how much leadership qualities he has and stuff. Oh, and then we were missing both of our starting outside linebackers too. Signed Kyle Van Noy off the street, Charger legend.
Yeah, Jim. Charger great.
Played really well. Jadeveon Clowney finally has a fire lit under his ass, and he's playing great.
He's still so bad.
Who, Clowney?
Yeah, he's so stupid. I just watched him make a play last week where like only he could have made the play, but he still like missed the tackle, and I'm just like,
he does that.
This is
yeah.
well, I'm like, this guy's still just the same guy. I'm not even saying he's bad. He's still like he like creates chaos, but like he's really not good. He's like good, but he's not good. Yeah,
he's the pressure god. Like he will create pressure. Like he will get to a backfield. He had like 3 opportunities today where he should have had sacks. Just can't wrap up.
No, it's impossible.
He's just a freight train coming down like off that offensive line. And if I was an offensive lineman, I'd be so scared because he's so fast still. He just does not finish one bit. I love him though. Like I love guys that can get pressure and just cause chaos because then that forces the quarterback to do something stupid. And when the Ravens get to health, like that'll be beneficial. We did pick off Dorian Thompson-Robinson Robinson. Is that his last name?
Yeah, he was so.
DTR?
By the way, I was just saying, like, I can tell you why you guys are 3-1. You guys have played 2 ridiculous joke games for sure, which helped. But I mean, everybody in the NFL is going to get those, so I'm not like even here to disparage. But I was laughing at that starting quarterback situation today. I was like, he was bad. He was so bad.
Yeah, he looked rattled. Like
yes, he was like borderline. Like if he'd have been found himself in that back of that end zone, like he would have ran out the back of it. He was like ready to run past the line of scrimmage and still throw a forward pass. Like he was that kind of bad. Like, he had that kind of look going on where he was about to make some real weird highlights that last forever.
But what was crazy about that is that we're missing both of our starting offensive, or not offensive, but outside linebackers, and we're still getting pressure to him. So like our defensive coordinator is doing a great job. You know, Patrick Queen absolutely like broke him in half at one point. And you could just tell he was shook from then on out. But yeah, you're right. He was, my God. Some of the throws he was making.
Yeah, he was bad, dude. He was really bad.
And then the Browns just don't have a running game either without Chubb. Like,
no, not the same. That's for sure. Especially, I'm sure you guys are loading the box a little extra, knowing that DTR was doing his thing there because it looked pretty bad. But I mean, the same thing. Like with Chargers wouldn't have won. Like, I don't know. Jimmy G might have shredded the Chargers today. We got Aiden O'Connell, so you know it is what it is. But just made me laugh.
We've got a little lucky for sure, like with that. But it is still the Browns, and it's always it's a division game. It's kind of like with you guys.
Yeah,
the Raiders.
Of course.
Division games are just legitimately you got to get up for those, And then we beat the Bengals. That was a good win. Did lose to the Colts. That was tough. Gardner Minshew. I hate losing to him. I wish we would have at least lost Anthony Richardson so that you could gloat a little bit more. And then we beat C.J. Stroud and the Texans before C.J. Stroud just turned it on. He looks great.
It's been murderous row for quarterbacks for you guys. I mean, look at that list of. I mean, you guys have really seen it all. Like, I mean,
well, get this. You know who we play this week? We play the Kenny Picketless Steelers. So
wow. You guys might go 15-16-1, man. I mean, hey,
who's to say that's not an improvement for Pittsburgh though?
It might be. And God, dude, they're so bad. I mean, they weren't scoring points with Kenny in there.
It's not. Bro.
He's not good. I can't believe. I was listening to Jordan Palmer. He's Carson's brother. He's kind of like a quarterback guru. He's connected all these guys. I mean, really talking still glowingly about Kenny, and I'm like, I'm sure Kenny's a really nice guy. And I'm sure he is getting on the ball out on time, but he's not delivered the ball down past. He's one of those guys who just like he's throwing checkdowns all the time, and I'm like, I understand that that's like fine, but like it's not really that fine.
No,
it's okay for a while, and it's borderline terrible unless Shanahan's dialing him up.
I think George Pickens might want to kill him. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah,
for
sure.
But now we play Mitch Trubisky, so that'll be fun. But yeah, you're right. We haven't really played anybody, but that's okay because we are very injured. We have a lot of people out, and when we do play the big dogs, we're going to have those guys in our back pocket. So,
well, it's not your fault that there's 25 bad quarterbacks in the NFL.
I'm
just glad we're on the teams with a couple good ones.
We talk about bad football in college, but man, the NFL also has some real bad football. I'm real mad at the Saints today because I started Chris Olave in fantasy and he got me 1.4 points. He's only your best player. I don't know what we're doing. They get Alvin Kamara and you want to talk about a guy thrown in the flats. There you go. So,
yeah, he had like 12 catches for like 13 yards or something. I mean, I don't know what the final actual stat line was, but yeah, Kamara was really cleaning up in PPR for no actual football benefit at all. No. Absolutely terrible.
You know who we should talk about is our boy Bijan. He's good as shit. Like Chase was very wrong about him.
Yeah, I mean, in Chase's defense, he's trying to like figure out fantasy value versus like reality. But there's no doubt in terms of the reality, that guy is every bit of everything you would want in an NFL running back. He is nasty.
I had the absolute joy of watching him on the Toy Story broadcast this morning because it's the only way I could get my daughter to watch football with me, and her mom allowed both of us to do it.
What did you think? I was rocked. I just opted for Ryder Cup. I didn't even try to do the Toy Story thing, which normally I'm a big Nickelodeon game guy. Like I get so much joy from it. Like it's so stupid. It makes me laugh. I love seeing bad quarterback play and then having slime jump on.
Yeah. No, that's kind of like, that was my threshold too, right? I'm like, okay, well, Nickelodeon's done it. Let's see what Disney can do. And you know what? They delivered. I thought it was actually really cool. It was a little delayed and had like a little bit of like weird movements sometimes because like they literally imposed cartoon characters on these guys. But overall, like pretty damn cool experience. My daughter loved it. In fact, when it was over, she was very, very mad that I wouldn't put it back on. She's like, Dad, Toy Story, Toy Story. I'm like, it's over, baby. The game's not on. And she was pissed. So thanks, Disney. Pissed off my daughter. But it was cool to see Bijan out there, like as an animated character, just ripping it. And then they would throw the ball sometimes, and it was bad. So Desmond Ritter's not a good quarterback. He's one of the ones we're referencing. But Bijan, my God, very, very good.
So good.
Also, that happened in London. That whole game, they put the game in London, and then they were like, you know, it would be really cool if we didn't show anybody in London and we superimposed cartoon characters over it.
Yeah. What a flex. Yeah, that's hilarious. I mean, I love those games. The only thing, because that's the only thing I really saw was like, imagine, you know, having a penalty and then they did it in like slink yardage, moving him back or whatever. That's what I'm saying. I love how stupid that is.
They were really doing shit like that though, dude. It was so
like
cool.
It's so stupid. It's so funny to me. Like and for as much as I take the NFL seriously and I mean, with any other game that's not my game, I'm just laughing mostly. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, I hope Mahomes and Wilson are both absolutely terrible tonight. Like I want them to both throw 6 picks. You know what I mean? I want to see Jets fans melt down, Chiefs fans melt down. I love watching Ritter be terrible. Screw it. Yeah, I mean,
it was hilarious though that like I'm sure you have this exact same thing, which for you it's not a problem, but for me, like I get like my wife gets annoyed if I watch too much football, but my wife hates whenever I put the Ravens games on because that's, you know, taking away from her time. But like I threw that damn Toy Story game on, and she was just like, every other play was just like, oh my gosh, how cute, blah blah blah, and I'm like, is this what we need to do for Ravens games? Like, we can make every Ravens game animated if we need to, like that.
Yeah, I'll watch the alternative broadcast if that's the deal, right? If that changes the game and the tenor in the room. I mean, I will say, like, you know, same with my wife though. Like the Swift movement, you know what I mean, going on is like, like,
fan, right?
Yeah, big NFL honk now. You know what I mean, and like she just can't get enough of the league, you know. So, you know, whatever gets them engaged, you know, I'm all for it. I can't believe I'm falling for these NFL gimmicks, but I'm just getting in line behind Goodell, you know, like, hey, whatever we got to do, man, as long as you understand my plight.
I will give Goodell credit. He is indoctrinating an entire new generation of humans to football through like just making it cartoon characters.
Yeah, it's pretty genius, honestly. Like I have nothing but glowing things to say about the Nickelodeon, and then I'm glad to hear the Toy Story experience was positive. I was holding out hope for the Ryder Cup there and trying to cling on to that last little bit of golf, but
yeah, you missed out, bud. I'm sure it's not gonna be the last time they do it though. So next time,
no, for sure, I'll definitely make sure to catch the next one. And Nick, you're up. Nick at night. Let's do it.
Yeah, are they not going to do Nickelodeon broadcast anymore? Since like,
no, I'm sure they will.
I can't remember what though, because like Nickelodeon and Disney are kind of like competitors, aren't they?
Yeah, but the NFL signs it. The NFL is on every channel now. Like, I don't even know where games are going to be sometimes. I have to like go plot scheme, find it. Your like local restaurant or whatever won't have it because it's on Prime, and then you're like, I guess I got to go home. Or
NFL does not care. You're right. They will whore themselves out to anybody.
Hey, but there's no Pac-12 network. Which, by the way, if anybody's seen it, go ahead and let me know where you can find it. Boy, am I not going to miss the Pac-12 network. I'll just say that. Unbelievable.
Well, that was definitely the most fun thing about the NFL this weekend. Also, the Bengals suck, which is just wild. They got shit canned by the Titans. Love seeing that for me. But then
Dolphins came back to earth.
Dude, wow, right? They dropped a 70 burger last week, and then they got absolutely hosed this week. Weird. Very, very weird. I had Stephon Diggs in fantasy though, so I'm not complaining.
Yeah, I went against Stephon Diggs, so I was complaining.
Yeah, 37 points in my league. I don't know.
I saw I saw Stephon Diggs and the Cowboys defense this week. Thanks, Mac Jones. Shout out, buddy. That was sick.
He's so bad. I also had what's his name, Brown on the Eagles. He got me 40 points.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah. He's been balling. He's been balling for sure.
I went to Chase Beiersdorf way of drafting and just went receiver heavy. So
Same.
two of them went really well, and then the last one was Olave, and he just he's a victim of circumstance. So
Olave is right in that Waddle spot. Those are like
yeah,
kind of the guys I was talking. Let me tell you, the Waddle experience is no better.
yeah,
70 points. Guy couldn't catch. I mean, he was out with a concussion, but this week he was back and he still wasn't scoring. The guy is not a contributor in a meaningful way. The guy needs to get in the end zone.
I just need him to get me like 14 to 15 points every game, which is very doable for him because he usually gets like 8 receptions.
Right.
He'll get you 8 and 60. Not this week. I thought I looked at the fantasy app and it said 0.0. And I was like, is he hurt? Like, did I miss something?
He's out.
Did I not sub him out? And then no, they just didn't throw him the ball. So shout out to Tampa Bay defense, which was on my bench. So great. But yeah, that was NFL. So let's get to what we've been really wanting to talk about. I know we're over time, but this has to be talked about. The shackles have been broken. The servitude has been served. DeAndre Ayton is gone. He's a Portland Trailblazer. We called this months ago that this could have been a possibility. Welcome Yusuf Nurkic to the Valley. I know you're excited.
Thrilled. I'm a big fan of European basketball players. I'm not excited about Nurkic in any way, shape, or form. I do think there's like something to be said, look, the writing was on the wall with Ayton. I think we knew it was going to just be a matter of time in terms of they were going to move on. In a vacuum, Ayton's better. He's a better player. The reality, that's my opinion. That's what I'm of that belief that in a vacuum, DeAndre Ayton is a better player. Now, I think there's a lot of personality clashes, whatever Ayton believes he is versus what Devin Booker sees versus what KD sees versus what the Suns organization saw. There's probably a lot to be hashed out there. I think Ayton will end up going to Portland and probably putting up, make us feel bad numbers for a while. I think so. I think you don't think they're going to throw him the ball and he's going to run up and down the court and pretend like he cares for a while. Look, it'll pan out eventually over time, right? We have time. But that said, all in all, they made moves that I think give him more flexibility. I think they've added depth to the roster. I think Nurkic can play a role. But I'm not excited about this trade. I'm just not. It's just not the pieces I wanted. I'm not excited about it.
You're not excited about Grayson Allen?
Not excited about Grayson Allen. I told you about the Duke cocktail parties. They're awful. Yeah. Then I guess we can be. Who's the third piece? And now I'm not. His name's not coming to me now. North Carolina kid. Yeah, Nasir Little. Supposed to be pretty solid athlete, shot okay, but hasn't ever had any meaningful minutes. And I don't know, it feels like another guy who's going to be maybe he makes rotation, maybe he ends up not playing much at all. So I don't know, man. I'm not thrilled. I mean, I'm here to listen. I'll hear you out, and I want to be excited, but I'm not. I'm excited about the Suns team in general, though. To be clear, the big three makes sense to me, and we'll just roll with that. And whoever these other guys are, they are. But
you're not mad. It's just it's like the dad thing. I'm not mad. I'm disappointed. You know what I mean?
It is very much that vibe. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm on the other side of the spectrum. I'm pumped.
I know you sent me a Nurkic clip of him making one pass in his life, and I'm like, he's literally been a malcontent in Portland with Ayton behaviors this entire time, and now but when he gets here, he's going to be magic, and he's not even going to want to touch the ball. He's just going to want to set screens. He loves setting screens.
I don't know, man. I've just been off Ayton for a while. He's just. I think for me, it's because he was he's a wildcat. He was supposed to be so good for us at U of A. We lose to Buffalo, so I already had a poor experience with Ayton, and then just throughout the years, he would be so good for a stretch, and then he would just suck for even longer. Just could never get out of his own way. He had the suspension. He refers to himself as dominating. He says he has multiple personalities. Just a really weird dude. And I get it. Yusuf Nurkic is not any less weird of a dude. He also has a weird personality. But in terms of what this team needed, I think that's why I'm excited, because Nurkic is one of those guys that does not take shit from literally anybody. Like, he will go out there and just bang with people, and like, he's a great rebounder. He's good inside. Arguably as good inside as Ayton, I would say. I mean, Ayton's potential is much higher. Don't get me wrong. Ayton, if he ever fulfills that potential, will look like idiots, but I don't know if he ever will. But in terms of like, for this team, like, we needed a big guy. Like, we needed somebody that could really like bang down low and make it tough for people. Like, you look at Jokic, right? Yusuf Nurkic has the body type and like is okay defensively, that I think he'll make it tougher on somebody like Jokic, that he won't be able to just like slam his way into the paint and push people out of the way Giannis style, because Nurkic is that big and isn't going to let it happen. So like, I like the Nurkic pickup. I also like the long-term outlook of this, because you're getting rid of DeAndre Ayton's contract. And I know, like, you made the comment, well, yeah, like, you're adding everybody else to match the contract. But like, long-term, I think most of these guys are on like, what, 1 year or 2 year deals. So like, you know, you can get off that pretty easy. Grayson Allen, I'm not excited about one bit. I'm not going to pretend I am. Decent rotation guy, I guess. You know, if he starts for us, I'm going to hate my life.
Yeah.
He might. Yeah, you're right. But I can't root for the guy. Like, I could not stand him in college, how much he would like trip people and act like the pretentious white boy that everybody thinks white basketball players are. It just sucks.
It's like a nightmare.
And then the two young guys, like, I'm with you. Like, hey, they were both first rounders, both had potential. Never really got to see it out because they just didn't play enough. But to me, too, like, my fear is like those two guys are just a couple of Darius Bazleys. You know, we traded for Bazley last year and he just never played, and then we got rid of him. So they were probably just throw-ins for salary. I mean, we've seen it with the Suns. Like, we can sometimes get those guys that we think they're never going to be anything, you know, and then they end up being a decent part of the rotation. We saw that with our entire bench last year. So I can hope for the best, but you just never know. But overall, like, in terms of the trade, like, what else were we going to get for him, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I think they're afraid they're going to get stuck. So I can accept that they had to make a move, because like, if they decided that they needed to be off of him, and that's just like, they were already dead set on that, and there wasn't going to be a lot of other windows for them to jump in, then it is what it is. But I just can't be excited about Nurkic. I mean, and then the idea that like Nurkic is going to be fine against Jokic, when Jokic literally got him shipped right out of Denver because he was whooping his ass in practice every day. So I mean, I just think Nurkic is just a dude. Like, he's just a completely average whatever center. He's Jock Landale with more minutes. Like, he's just not special. And I just think that like, you're missing out on. It always sucks when you're just when I believe you're trading the best player in the deal, you're generally losing the deal. I feel like Ayton's still the most talented guy in that group. Now, he might just end up playing this out where he's ultimately an asshole, right? And he's just like a pain in the ass, and no one can deal with him. And maybe he'll just like, that'll bear out. And if that's the case, then they needed to move off of him. I know there's been like some weird stories, but nothing really that like I could really pin to him that I would say like, oh, I know that definitely happened, or that seems particularly true. But I think the big thing is just like his perception of like what he thought he was versus what, you know, the rest of the team saw and what they needed from him. And
what the fans thought too, you know?
Yeah. And then if Nurk thinks, you know, like if Nurk comes in and just like plays the role, like, and maybe that is valuable, like him just playing the role of being the guy willing to do the dirty work. But I don't know. He's a guy that kind of tries to finish with finesse. Like he's got sometimes a motor, sometimes he doesn't. He seems to pick and choose. So I just don't get excited about the Nurkic part of it. I really hope the other pieces come into play. Like I'm hoping Nasir Little ends up being a steal in some regard, and he's like a 15-minute guy that matters to us. Maybe Grayson Allen is really nice in this piece. He's supposed to shoot off of Giannis, and I assume he's getting pretty good looks out there. But does he get better looks off of, you know, action with Book and KD pick and roll? Whatever. I mean, if he ends up being a shooter, I'll end up rooting for Grayson Allen while he's wearing the jersey. But as you mentioned, it's it's a tough one, man. It's a real tough one, and it's going to take me some time to decide how hard I want to pump my fist when a Grayson Allen 3 goes in.
I honestly wish it could have been a 4-team deal, like with the whole Boston Portland thing. I wish we could have just got what Portland got from Boston. I would have taken Robert Williams and Brogdon in a heartbeat on this.
I would love that deal. Yeah.
Yeah. But didn't happen. And now Dame is in Milwaukee after all the smoke with Miami. Never really even thought about him going to Milwaukee, especially them parting with Drew Holiday. Like, that's crazy, you know. I was talking to a guy at work about it, and this is going to sound really dumb, and I'm sure that you'll probably be like, what? Like, what are you talking about? I don't think Milwaukee got that much better.
Oh, I don't think that's crazy. I'm kind of with you. No, I'm kind of with you. Right. What they gain in Dame, they like lose in Drew in some capacity, right? Like there's something. Yeah, there's something to Drew's like super underrated, right? There's a reason Drew got traded in 8 seconds later, and you knew a contender was gonna come calling for him. Like, yeah, like someone was gonna jump on that. And like for Boston, I mean, he's the 10 times better version of Marcus Smart, right? Like, I mean, maybe 10 times is extreme, but he's a much better Marcus Smart in terms of what they're going to get out of that. And I'm kind of with you. I don't know. And we haven't seen, for all the hype about Dame, and as much as I love Dame and as fun as he is to watch, like we've never really, and we haven't seen him in these games. And like, we know that he's going to be impactful and he's going to play defense, or, I mean, that roster is taking a hit a little bit, just kind of generally. Like, they don't have a ton of depth, which, you know, for all the Phoenix doesn't have depth or this team doesn't have depth, Milwaukee definitely doesn't. So I don't know. Like, the idea of them being prohibitive favorites, I think it just makes sense that they're going to be co-favorites with Boston in the East because the East is kind of weak.
I want to know how that team's going to work too, because Dame is so used to having the ball all the time. Giannis isn't going to just give up the ball all of a sudden, and it's not like Giannis can just like go out in the corner. Can't shoot. You know what I mean? So Giannis is going to have to bring the ball up. And I mean, then like, how does Lillard operate then? Is he just going to be a spot up guy? And I don't know. It's kind of like when the Mavs traded for Kyrie, like with Luka, you know, there are a lot of problems with spacing and stuff like that. I can kind of foresee a little bit of that happening with Milwaukee, because it's just, you know, Drew never had an issue like giving the ball up to Giannis and just playing his part and playing awesome defense and stepping up when he needed to. But Dame's been running a team for 10 years, so I don't know how this is going to work.
I mean, look, they're going to score points. I mean, like him, if they just ran pick and roll.
Yeah.
I mean, that works. I mean, that part of it works. And having Middleton now be is that, you know, he's been the secondary creator, but now they have a real creator. I mean, there's no doubt Dame offensively is much better than Drew, as much as I love Drew and think the world of his game, actually. Dame's still better offensively. So I think they're going to score points, but I just don't know that it necessarily solves everything. It still seems to me like it's going to come down to, you know, Giannis doing a lot of things defensively. Like, there's a lot of things that Giannis is still going to have to do. Dame picks up for some of those areas, but there's still a heavy burden on those guys. So I don't know. They're going to be really good, but I don't think it's I don't move them to like 1A.
I wouldn't be surprised to see that the Celtics are the biggest winner out of this whole trade, like out of the whole shakeup, you know? Like,
if they didn't tie to Porzingis, I'd be with you.
Yeah, that's true. I did forget about
that. That's the only thing that makes me nervous for them. Like, the rest of it makes a ton of sense to me. But
getting Drew with Jaylen Brown and Tatum, like, God, defensively, they're going to be so tough to like beat, you know?
Yeah, like they're going to be so good on the wing defensively. There's no doubt about that. And then, yeah, I mean, I think it's just really whether Porzingis is any good. I mean, it was really just means healthy. Because I think if he's on the court, he's solid. You know, he gives you something.
Yeah.
But I just don't know if he's going to be healthy, which is another thing I worry about with Nurkic too.
I would love to see where Brogdon's going to go. I could probably see maybe like Miami going for him since they missed out. I would love for him to come to Phoenix, but I was talking to our friend Tyler, you know, Tyler Williams, and he even said it. He's like, dude, you guys don't have anything to even trade us. And I'm like, you're not wrong. Like, legitimately, there's nothing that the Suns could give up at this point. They already got everything from us. So I could see Miami. I could see who else? The Lakers, Clippers. There's a whole list of teams that could probably go over for Malcolm Brogdon. And I think he's definitely not as good as he was 3 years ago, but like still a very like heady, good player. I mean, he's not that far removed from 90, 50, 40 or whatever the stat is.
Yep. Yeah, he's still a solid player, and I think that's why I think Portland did really well. I mean, all things considered, I think they held out for a pretty good little deal. I mean, they got 2 bigs that are quality. They got more pieces to move. They picked up some picks. I don't really know about the swaps. Swaps seem dumb.
Yeah, they always seem dumb though.
Yeah, like I feel like they don't really like pay off. It's like kind of, it's like this little side bets in blackjack. Like you hit them every now and then, the swap pays off, but more often than not, like you're the bad team. You traded with a good team. You just sent a really good, like they're going to be good, and you're not even going to switch spots. Like it doesn't make sense. But
how's Portland going to operate, you think? I know you and I were texting about this during the week, but like, is Ayton going to play the 4 and then Williams the 5 or vice versa? Like, I mean, like you said, right? Like they're going to be anchors down low. Like defensively, they should be very good down low, but how do they work offensively?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's just going to be something we'll have to see what their philosophy is. But I mean, I think you can. The thing to me is like you can stagger them, right? They do it with all these other guards and like other wing positions. We see that all the time, right? The Suns are even going to stagger Durant, Beal. I always want to say Beasley. In Booker's time, right? Like there's always going to be like staggering of those guys, and then I don't know if they're going to ever go with like consistently go with the Twin Towers look, but I do think it solves for the thing. It's nice about Williams is he does solve for a lot of the things that you don't think you get out of Ayton. So every time you're mad that Ayton's not feverishly trying to block every shot, Williams will be doing that. So I just think they have 2 nice pieces, and again, they can just keep flipping. If they don't feel like they're close, because I don't think that they should feel that way unless Scoot comes in and plays out of his mind, right? But if not, they have 3 guards. They have a traditional team that makes sense though right now. Like they put together a roster that makes sense, and they're young and they can grow together. So I'm actually pretty. If I'm a Trailblazers fan, I'm pretty excited about what they did. Obviously, Tyler's excited because he's he thinks Geno Smith is going to win a Super Bowl. I mean, he's that kind of fan. But Geno's not going to win a Super Bowl. Just a side note.
Yeah, I texted him. He said he was pumped. So, I mean, he's also the biggest Dame guy I know, too, though. So I know he's hurting internally. He just doesn't want to.
Oh, he also would tell me that Ayton sucks. And now that he's over there, he's like, oh, we'll see. Yeah.
He did make the comment to me. He's like, I hope we just get effort from him consistently. And I let him know you will not get that from him.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But yeah, NBA blowing up 3 weeks before the season starts. I can't believe we're even saying that, dude. The season's literally going to be here in no time.
We're like a couple weeks away from James Harden not showing up to camp and still pretending like he has value and being like, hey, I don't play basketball, but I still think I'm worth like at least $40 million a year. Can you trade me, or what's the deal?
Did you see Joel Embiid's tweet?
No, what do you no.
He just put, well, this offseason's been fun when Lillard got traded. Poor guy, dude. He just pumps his heart and soul into the organization. He's always surrounded by dumbasses and then just never gets what he wants.
Dude, he's probably the next one up though, in terms of he'll be on the clock soon. Like if they don't figure out, which I have no idea what they're going to do with the James thing, because he's like literally just no one does this. Like James has created his own kind of problem where he's asking for money while also refusing to play, asking for a trade while not working with the franchise at all. Like he's literally doing both things at once, all in every direction. And you're like, and then still just like basically going to strip clubs and calling him a liar and a traitor, right?
He's a wild card for sure. Always has been, but he's a Sun Devil, so it makes sense.
It does. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, I think we got everything out that we wanted to get out. Other than that, guys, make sure that you click that subscribe button on the YouTube. Hopefully you're watching us on video. If you're not, if you're listening to us audibly, go ahead and hit that subscribe button there as well, or the follow button, whatever it's called. Send it out to a friend, a colleague, a family member, whoever. Leave us a 5-star review. Let us know what your thoughts were. Go ahead and follow us on all the socials. We are on Twitter/X. We're on Instagram. Instagram, I think we're past 3,000 followers or approaching it. We're up there. So we thank all of you guys for following us there. We're on TikTok. We're on Facebook. And then obviously, like I said, YouTube. So we're everywhere. Click that follow button and send it out to a friend. Other than that, I hope you all have a safe week. Enjoy the sports. Enjoy the upcoming college football, the NFL. And then like John and I said, before you know it, we'll have all of those together along with some NBA. So we're almost out of it, guys. We have playoff baseball that we can actually maybe kind of give a shit about. So it's a great time to be a sports fan. So make sure you're following along here. We're going to cover all of it except maybe baseball. So, John, you have any other thoughts?
No, but now that you bring it up, tip of the cap to the Diamondbacks for getting it done, losing their ass off to close out the season to make the playoffs anyways. Way to put yourselves in position, boys. Take that momentum home with you.
Shout out to the Braves for almost setting the single season record for home runs. Good job. All right. With that, guys, we will talk to you later. Peace.